What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cage My IQ. As always, I'm your host, D-Bake. Today, we will be previewing Bellator 268, which is headlined by Vadim Nemkov versus Julius Anglickas, and one of the two semifinals matchups for the light heavyweight Grand Prix in Bellator. This is going to be taking place in Arizona. This is going to be a fun card in itself, but today we will have four main card fights that I'm going to be previewing for you for this week's Bellator pay-per-view live on Showtime. But before we get started with the action, I'm just going to get a shout out to who we are. As you know, this is Cage My IQ, the best place for MMA content. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and at Twitch at the arrows to the left. We are partnered with the Fighters First Network on YouTube. So if you could just go to Fighters First on YouTube, hit the subscribe button on the channel. Also, don't forget to hit the notification button right next to it, so that anytime we put content out for Occasion My IQ, you never miss any of the content that's put out. You'll get the notification right when it's done. And as always, we ask that you like the video that we put out right now. That's very important with the algo. So just hit the like button, and as always, comment on who you think is going to win on Bellator 268. Give us your thoughts in the comment section and let us know what you think of our product that we have right out now. But as always, let's get started with the preview that we have for Bellator 268. The first matchup that we have for you on Tilt is a nice featherweight matchup between Henry Corrales versus Vladislav Parubchenko, a featherweight matchup. And as you see here on the screen that we're going to pull up right in a second, we got two bantamweights here. Henry Corrales is coming in at 18-6, whereas his opponent Vladislav is coming at 16-2. In the last five fights, Henry is 2-3. He has beaten Aaron Pico. He lost to Darren Caldwell by decision. He has lost to Juan Archuleta by decision. He has beaten Brandon Gertz by split decision. And in his last fight, he lost to Johnny Campbell by rear naked choke submission. He is fighting out of Redlands, California. He's 35 years old, 135 pounds, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach, and then he fights out De La O Jiu-Jitsu gym and Fight Ready MMA gym. Whereas the Ukrainian is 4-1 in his last five fights. The one loss being his debut in Bellator. He beat Yashivami Nakamura by submission, arm triangle. He beat Takahiro Ishida by rear naked choke submission. He beat Artem Badur by shoulder choke submission. He beat Alexei Ganenko by guillotine choke submission. And then he lost by unanimous decision victory to John DeJesus in Bellator. This is basically a style matchup where it's a striker versus a submission artist. As you can tell, all the wins by the Ukrainian has been by submission in the company that was in right before Bellator. I think even though he is on the better track, being 4-1 compared to the 2-3 of Henry Corrales, I think Henry Corrales has fought in the better competition, the harder competition, with the losses that he had, of course, to Campbell, Archuleta, and Darren Caldwell. Two of the guys were in the Grand Prix and have shown great upside. Archuleta was just the champion, and I think that loss, the loss they had to Campbell, was just, it happens. You get submitted, but I think this is the perfect fight for Corrales to get back on track, correct some things. He has said that he's in no rush to get any of the rematches. He wants to come back, slowly put the pieces back together, and then become a better overall fighter even at the age of 35. And I think in this one, I think he wins by second round knockout. I think he just puts it together. I don't think his opponent Vladislav is going to be able to fight with him, trade with him on the feet. I think he's going to look to get the fight to the ground, get Corrales to the ground, and look for the submissions. I think that Corrales can just avoid that and take the fight into deep waters. And at this point, I think he's going to win by second round knockout. I think he's going to catch him with a shot. He's going to avoid the submissions. At the end of the day, with this matchup, I got Henry Corrales with this by unanimous decision victory over the Ukrainian in this matchup. In the second fight on this card, we got a lightweight matchup between Benson Henderson facing his opponent Brent Primus in the second fight on the main card. I'm definitely looking forward to this right here because in this fight, we got Benson Henderson and Brent Primus. Benson Henderson's coming at 20-10, whereas Brent Primus is coming in at 10-2. In the last 5 fights, Benson Henderson's 3-2. He has wins over Sada Wad by decision, Adam Piccolotti by split decision, Miles Jory by decision, and then he's lost his last 2 to Michael Chandler by TKO and Jason Jackson by decision. And in those 2 losses, Michael Chandler has moved to UFC after that, and then Jason Jackson's looking to fight for the title now. So you can't look past that. And in this fight, of course, Benson Henderson's moving back down to lightweight for this matchup, which I like. I like that move there because that's where he's been best at. And he's fighting out of Glendale, Arizona. He's 37 years old, 170 pounds, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach, and he fights out MMA Lab. Then you got Brent Primus. He's coming 3-2 in his last fights as well. He beat Michael Chandler by TKO to win the belt. And then he lost to Michael Chandler in the rematch by decision. He then beat Tim Wild by submission, Gogo Plata. He beat Chris Bungard by neck crank submission. And then his last fight, he lost to Islam Mammadov by split decision. That was kind of a boring fight with not a lot of striking. There was a lot of back and forth grappling on the ground, and where it was mostly Brent Primus trying to just defend the takedowns and everything of Mammadov. So he's looking to rebound from that as well. But you got him fighting out of Eugene, Oregon. He's 36 years old, 155 pounds, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach, and he trains out of American Top Team Portland. But in this matchup, I feel like it's going to be a little bit of Chandler trying to keep the fight on the feet. He's got that kickboxing background. He likes to use those long legs, and he likes to get the action going, get his striking going, whether it's using those kicks or the striking in his hands. Whereas Brent Primus can strike, he has those power shots, but I think in this fight he's going to look to try and get the fight to the ground because that's where he's going to be better. If he could get the fight to the ground, his submission game is just far superior over Benson Henderson, and I think it's going to be a battle of wits with this one. Whoever gets their game plan going is going to be the one that picks up the victory. And I think in this matchup, I tend to go with Benson Henderson by unanimous decision, just because I think on the feet that those long legs are going to play a factor. I think early he's going to try and get the leg kicks going. He's going to just chop at Brent Primus, because if he can get a lot of those leg kicks to the legs of Primus, he's going to slow Primus down, and that's not going to be good for him, who's going to want to run and shoot for those takedowns. I think Primus might get 1 or 2. I don't think this is going to be a dominating win by Benson Henderson, but I think the volume's going to be on his side. I think he's going to do that. I think he's going to try and come in and throw combinations, come out and then throw a leg kick and then go back in. I think it's going to be a little bit of repetitiveness of Benson Henderson with all that. And I think Benson Henderson wins the first round. I think the 2 takedowns will come in round 2 by Brent Primus. He's going to get that going and control half of the second round and then do a little bit of striking. And he's going to try to attempt a rear naked choke, but I don't think he gets it because I think Benson Henderson's just too tall. And then in the third round, I think Benson Henderson will make an adjustment. Instead of going inside, I think he'll just be content with staying at distance, use those leg kicks, he'll throw some shots with that reach. And at the end of the day, with this matchup, I got Benson Henderson getting back in the win column in this lightweight matchup, in his re-debut at lightweight since moving back from welterweight. And in this matchup on Bellator 268, I got Benson Henderson over Brent Primus by unanimous decision victory. Moving on to the co-main event of the evening, we got the light heavyweight semifinal Grand Prix matchup between Ryan Bader versus Corey Anderson. This is a hyped matchup that you could have thought would happen when both these fighters signed. When Corey Anderson signed here, I thought one good matchup that you could have pit him against was Ryan Bader, because both these guys were in the UFC, and then both had that talent that we thought were going to rise in the UFC, but it didn't happen. Bader had some success, and so did Corey Anderson, but they didn't reach the height that they could have reached. Bader has reached that height in the Bellator since he joined a couple years ago. He was double champion. He still is the heavyweight champion, but we're looking for him to go in and try and reach that status in the light heavyweight, since losing the title to Vadim Nemkov before the Grand Prix started. And that's where we're looking at to happen, is that rematch. But if he wants to get that, he has to get through Corey Anderson, who had a nice first round showing where he won by a knockout. But within this in this matchup, you got to look at the tail of the tape right here. On the left, you got Ryan Bader. He's coming in at 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 28-6. He beat Matt Bitrium by decision victory. He beat Fedor Emelianenko by KO TKO punches. He had a draw, no contest against Czech Congo due to eye poke from ground and pound. And I think he was going to win that, but the eye poke basically made it a draw, no contest. He lost the light heavyweight title Vadim Nemkov by KO TKO head kick and punches. That's the rematch that we're trying to look for. And then the first round of the Grand Prix, he beat Lyoto Machida by decision victory. He fights out of Tempe, Arizona. He's 38 years old, 205 pounds, 6'2", with a 73-inch reach, and he fights out of Power MMA Gym. Whereas you got Corey Anderson, who is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He is 15-5 overall. He beat Ilir Latifi by decision. He beat Johnny Walker by KO TKO punches. He lost to Jan Jahovic by KO TKO punches. In his last fight, in his first fight in Bellator, he beat Melvin Manhove by KO TKO elbows, and then he beat Davladzhan Yadzurdov by KO TKO ground and pound. So he has a nice 2-0 start in Bellator. He fights out of Rockton, Illinois. He's 32 years old, 204 pounds. He's 6'3" with a 79-inch reach, and he fights at our Kennel Fight Club gym over there. And within this matchup, I think that the big thing is going to be is who can get the control on the ground and who's going to have the advantage on the feet with striking. I think the big thing here is Corey Anderson can match with him on the feet and on the ground. He has good grapple and wrestle, and he has good striking. But I think the difference in this fight will be the fact that he is not great at anything. He's just really good at all aspects of the game, whereas you can tell that Bader has that knockout power at the light heavyweight division, but then his wrestling is probably elite when it comes to this division. He's probably one of the best at wrestling, uh, whereas Corey Anderson's only good. Like I would say he's really good, but he's not great at it like Ryan Bader. And I think Ryan Bader's gonna be able to control the fight majority of the time by just taking down Anderson, being able to stuff anything that Anderson does with there. I think Ryan Bader's going to try and avoid the striking of Anderson because I think Anderson has the chance to knock out Bader. The one weakness in Bader is his chin. It can be a glass chin at times, and it can be knocked out. So I think the Bader's game plan is going to be to get Corey Anderson to the ground and use that to his advantage, get a lot of control time there, and try and just get this fight gritty and where he can just control it to where he does a lot of ground and pound and a lot of time on the ground. And if it goes to the feet, that's where he's going to try and move around, avoid those shots, and then get his shots going. But at the end of the day, I got this as Ryan Bader by unanimous decision victory. I think he's going to get 3-4 takedowns in this fight. I think it's going to be a lot of control time by him on the ground where he gets ground and pound. There might be one or two times where Anderson almost gets Bader down, but I think he stuffs him. And I think there will be one point in time where Anderson has a nice shot on Bader where he connects, and that's gonna be the deal breaker in this fight, whether it knocks down Bader or if he eats it. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he eats the shot. He keeps his fight going, and Ryan Bader moves on to the finals of the light heavyweight Grand Prix with a unanimous decision victory over his opponent, Corey Anderson, and he stops Corey Anderson's his momentum in this Grand Prix. So once again, I got Ryan Bader by unanimous decision victory over his opponent, Corey Anderson. Moving on to the main event of the evening, we got a fun late heavyweight semifinal Grand Prix matchup between Vadim Nemkov, who's defending his title against his opponent, Julius Anglickas. This was supposed to be Nemkov versus Anthony Rumble Johnson, which would have been a banger of a matchup. But Anthony Rumble Johnson was forced to pull out due to injury, so he was replaced by the replacement Julius Anglickas, who is ranked number 5 in the division. Other than the guys that are still in the Grand Prix, and the only guy that was ranked higher than Anglickas is Phil Davis, who was eliminated and by Nemkov, and who just fought, so you couldn't put him back in. So that's why Julius Anglickas was the guy who was put into this matchup. But if you look at the tier of the tape right here, you got Vadim Nemkov, who comes in at 14-2. He is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He has beaten Liam McGarry by KO. He beat Phil Davis by split decision. He beat Rafael Carvalho by submission rear naked choke. He beat Ryan Bader to win the title by KO TKO punches. And then he beat Phil Davis again by unanimous decision victory. Phil Davis is the one guy that's been his like arch nemesis because Phil Davis has that granite iron chin that just takes all punches, and he's tough for everybody. It feels like even in a loss, Phil Davis took Nemkov to the brink in both fights. He fights out of Stary Oskar, Russia. He's 29 years old, 204 pounds, 6 foot with a 76-inch reach, and he fights out of Alexander Nevsky gym. Whereas his opponent, Julius Anglickas, is 10-1. He is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He has beaten Clayton York by submission rear naked choke. He beat Carl Reed by submission on the Contender Series. He beat Jordan Young by unanimous decision victory in Bellator. He beat Alex Polizzi by unanimous decision victory. And in his last fight, he beat Gregory Milliard by decision unanimous 5 months ago. He fights out of Lithuania. That's his nationality. He fights out of St. Charles, Missouri. He's 30 years old, 205 pounds, 6'3", with a 77-inch reach, and he fights out of St. Charles MMA gym. This is going to be a fun matchup. It's not going to be as good as Anthony Rumble, but you see there, Julius Anglickas is 5-0, and he has the reach advantage. So I think he's going to try and use that to keep the fight at distance, throw some jabs, throw some shots, and then try and just put up a little bit of volume. Whereas Vadim Nemkov, he can grapple with you and he can strike with you. He can throw. I think what's going to be the difference here is just you would say strength of schedule in this one, because I think because Vadim Nemkov has been tested, he's fought the competition that he's fought, whereas Anglickas hasn't fought that deep competition. Plus, he hasn't fought those 5-round fights that Vadim Nemkov has fought. I think Anglickas is going to come in with a semi-good game plan, but it's not going to work because he's not going to know exactly who he's in the octagon with. Whereas Nemkov, he knows he's going to do 5 rounds again. He's done that for the past 2-3 fights. He's going to come in. He's going to pressure Anglickas. He's going to close the gap, close the distance. He's going to throw those combinations at him, and he's going to grapple him and take him to the ground. And at the end of the day, I think this only lasts 2 rounds. I think the first round is going to be the first half. The first round, Anglickas is going to do what he wants to do, fight from distance and put up a little bit of volume. But then I think Vadim Nemkov is going to figure that out. He's going to close the distance. He's going to take Anglickas down, do a little bit of ground and pound, get this fight dirty. And then the second round, I think he's going to change levels, fake the takedown, and Anglickas is going to bite on it, and then he's going to pull back up. And I feel like he's going to pop him with a shot to the head. And I feel like this is going to be a second round TKO by Vadim Nemkov over Julius Anglickas. I just don't think that Anglickas is ready for this type of fight. I think he should have had one more fight before this, but because of the injury to Anthony Johnson, where he had to pull out, Julius Anglickas took this fight on a few weeks' notice. And you would be crazy to say no, but I think he's 1 or 2 fights shy from being ready for this championship fight. Whereas Nemkov is at the top of the division for a reason. He's beat the guys that he's need to beat in Calvello, Bader, and then Phil Davis twice. And he's done it in several aspects: submission, knockout, and decision. With the experience. And at the end of the day, I think it continues, and I have Vadim Nemkov defend his championship with a second round TKO win over Julius Anglickas. He moves on to the finals, and he will be facing Ryan Bader there in a rematch of a fight where Nemkov took the belt from Ryan Bader. That is my prediction, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens on this card. But once again, this was my Bellator 268 Vadim Nemkov versus Julius Anglickas preview from yours truly, D-Bake. Before I get going, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor. We got High Tide Herbal. Use promo code CageMyIQ10 at checkout to receive 10% off your next purchase at hightideherbal.com. Is a company owned by coaches and athletes who specialize in speedy recovery. All the products have CBD oil in it, and the goal with High Tide Herbal is to help athletes recover faster. As always, check out firesfirst.shop. We got a bunch of shirts out there from the legendary collection with the newly made British Bulldog shirt and the Brian Pillman shirt to the Brandon Coutinho Tune-Up Crew collection and the Art of MMA collection. And as always, we got the Cage My IQ collection. Just go to firesfirst.shop, scroll down to the Cage My IQ collection, and click and look at the shirt that we have in 3 different styles, but plus the hoodie that we have out. Check out it. It's a great shirt. It fits great, and you don't even have to wash it, and it fits perfectly fine. So support the show. Buy our shirt. Let us know, and we'll give you a shout out on the next time we do a Bellator preview. But as always, I'm your host, D-Bake. This was the Bellator 268 preview show, and I thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys at the end of the week as I recap Bellator 268. But I will talk to you guys next time. Tune in later.